Oh yeah. Oh Prometheus, I'm gonna get some rounds loaded up and we'll go shoot you soon, buddy. So we got our bullets, we got our brass, we got our black powder, 3F black powder, and most important, the primers.
No, God! No, God, please, no! No!
Okay, so the very first thing you need to do is obviously remove the primer from the brass case. Once you get to that point, a primer has two parts inside of it. A tiny little anvil, it's this thing, and then the primer pocket case set itself. Now, what this punch is for is if you look on the back where the your firing pin strikes this actual primer, you'll notice it always leaves an indent. So you would set it down on a hard surface with a punch, strike it a couple times with a hammer. Now once it's been stricken a few times, you'll get it to be pretty flat again. Some are a little better than others, but and also this also brings up the fact that if you have one that's gotten really thin, you're probably not going to be able to do this process for it. It'd probably be unsafe. But you could smack it out. You might see a little bit of remnants left on the back from the last time it was fired. But for the most part, that's not a big deal. Just make sure it never got thin or ruptured the casing itself. Alright, so now we're going to go on to the second part of this. Making basically the powder that allows the primer to work. And what we're going to do is we're going to use strike-on box matches for that. Okay, so why strike-on box matches? Because on the side of the box here where you strike, there's like a sandpaper feeling material here. That is half the compound that you need as well. So you would open up your strike-on box matches, take a couple out, put them on your white paper there, and what you're going to end up wanting to do is, using a hammer, strike the tip of the match several times to get this red powder that's on the end off. And once you get to that point, you're going to stick it inside this paper and you're going to do your best to crush it as much as you can. A mortar and a pestle would be probably the best. Rubbing like this helps flatten it out and spread it out. And once you reopen up the paper, you'll notice there's a lot of powder here, but not all of it's fully thin powder yet. So what we'll do is try to scrape it all in one area again. Close it back up. Sit here and rub across it again. Now, right now, it is not impact sensitive. Becomes an impact sensitive powder. And the second part to that impact sensitiveness is this stuff that's on the side of the box. We're going to scrape that off with a knife once we get this fully done. Now, very, very important is do not make much more than this at a time. Thinking the idea of, I'm just going to make a whole bunch, it's very stupid, because anything that hits this at all, it causes this to ignite, and it is a loud bang. It's quite powerful. So a large quantity of this could be very dangerous. Small quantities only. And once we mix the side of this box in, you're not going to want to do this pestle or like sliding across it, or even using it in a powder like a mortar and pestle. You're going to want to rotate it around and stir it up kind of by just letting it hop around. So I'll show you that when I get there. Okay, so I got it pretty well done up in powder. Now I'm going to choose a small amount here, and I'm going to use my knife and scrape it off what's on the side of the box. But that's what you're looking for. When it intermixes with this and you get a nice impact on it, it will instantly ignite, and it's more of an explosion than a lighting. Alright, so I got quite a... What I would recommend doing is kind of mixing it very lightly and very, very slowly, because this is very impact sensitive now, and you don't want it to ignite. And that's why you don't make large quantities either, because if this just ignited, it would just make a big bang and scare you, but it wouldn't hurt you. Let me get this mixed up a little bit and I'll bring you back. Okay, so now I got mine fairly well mixed. The next step would be, and if I were you, for your first time, once you mix it, to make sure you have a decent mixture, take a small portion of this, separate it from all of this, take it somewhere where you can hit it with a hammer, and hit it, and you'll know if it goes off. It's quite loud. It sounds just like if you fired a pistol primer without a casing. So now I got this fairly mixed. You're going to come back to the case, the little primer case that you had knocked back and made flat, getting the impact from the firing pin off. And you're going to start adding this stuff. Now you don't need a lot per. And the big secret here is, let's say that's probably more than I would need. Big secret to this whole ordeal is the rubbing alcohol. Because right now, if I wanted to put this anvil back in, if I went nice and slow, you know, it might work, but I can't guarantee that it won't fire, it won't go off. Because usually I tried doing this before using alcohol, and you know, every now and then, like every 5 or 6 times I was doing it, I'd have one pop on me, and it's quite loud, but I was expecting it. And using rubbing alcohol, you know, taking it in a syringe, or I mean anything that you can get to make that easier for you to do. So I just put a tiny bit of rubbing alcohol in this little syringe here. And taking this, I'm going to add enough to wet the whole thing. And then now it can no longer ignite on you until it's dried out. I'll take the anvil, now pointy side down, stick it on the top there. And sorry, this is a little fiddly. And what's nice too is normally that would have spilt out and it didn't. You tipped it over. Then using the punch, okay guys, I finally got it together. I ended up using a pair of needle nose pliers, but as you can see, once you get that in, it sits very nice and flush, and you can see the little bit of the red from the, come on, focus. You can see the red from the matches there. Now, I don't know if these are the best matches to be using. With all of this kind of stuff, it's good to experiment and practice and figure out what works for you best. This works for me, but I haven't bought boxes of Strike-On matches in a while, and these, I'm not really digging the box where the striker is, this stuff, being that it didn't come off that easy. It just wasn't like it was a long time ago when I was actually playing with it and whatnot. But this is very fiddly and it takes a long time. Now once you have everything set up, you could make a lot pretty quickly, but it's fiddly. I don't make these to save myself money. Matter of fact, I hardly ever make them myself. I always just buy off the shelf primers. But this is something good to have in your back pocket if, you know, you can't get primers right now and you want to shoot. So, all right, guys. I'll be right back. Let me load this one up in a case and we'll fire it. Okay, so I placed some of that powder here on the this anvil, and I'm gonna smack it for you. Ready? That was loud. Ow! All right, here we go.